morning.
Good morning. Oh my gosh, I just love that intro. You do such a great job putting our graphics together for this show.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I love it so much. And I've got new merch too. I've got my Space Unicorns sweatshirt on. So I'm pretty excited. Just got some of these samples this week, and it makes a fashion girl happy to wear her own designs. So I'm pretty excited about that too.
I love it. I think you have something else you're probably going to show us that you ordered, right?
Yes, I do. I do. Do we want to do it now?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. So we're going to talk about our subscriber in the spotlight. This whole morning show is we love our coffee and our coffee mugs. And so we have a special subscriber in the spotlight this week, and it is Karen. And Karen, thank you for being a member and also for your contribution in the Ajatakasha community app. I love your turmeric latte mix, by the way, and your butterfly mug so much. And if you want to be a subscriber in the spotlight, all you have to do is download the Ajatakasha app, join this morning, which is our community group, and post your mugshot. And if you see that fabulous coffee mug right there, that is our official this morning coffee mug with my lovely cauldron on it. And I have it right here.
Yay!
Yay!
So cute.
It's so cute. And Dallisa's is going to be on its way to her very soon. So if you guys want an official this morning mug, it is in my official store, which you can find under support and shop both on lisamgunshore.com, or you can go into the Ajatakasha app, click support and shop, and the official store is right there. And you can get your official mug. And I just don't sell 11-ounce mugs. They're only 15 ounce because I think we need a substantial coffee mug. So I love it so much, and it's so cute. So
It's adorable.
Yes. So thank you to Karen, who is one of our new members here to the Buddhist Biohacker channel. And I also want to say welcome in to Barbara, who's a brand new member as well to the channel. So we have all sorts of special emojis, and that's on both channels, Dallisa.
Yeah, because people might not have any idea what we're talking about. So we recently turned on a button on our YouTube channels called Join. And so if you click that button, you actually can become a member of our YouTube channels. And it starts at $2.99 a month, so really affordable. And it makes it so that your name is highlighted and it shows that you're a member of the channel. And then it unlocks different badges and emojis. And Lisa has different emojis. I have different emojis, and they're just a lot of fun. So we can actually see on our end who the members are. And yeah, it's a lot of fun because now we see things in color and different fun emojis that you're using during our live broadcast. I have to say, my dad gave me a mug.
Yes.
He just gave me this mug. It's Buc-ee's. Have you ever been to a Buc-ee's?
No, I have not.
Anybody in the comments, let us know. Have you been to a Buc-ee's? So I used to live in Texas. I was there for 3 years. I worked at Texas Christian University. And my dad just came back from a work trip, and he passed through the Houston area. And Buc-ee's is this gigantic, major gas station. And they have a store in there, and it's like everything you've ever wanted is inside of a Buc-ee's. And so this is like one of those hardcore, keep everything hot and cold thermos mugs. So I'm excited, but Buc-ee's is like crazy. You got to go to a Buc-ee's.
It sounds like it. Oh, I'm going to look it up. Maybe there's one closer to us than there, but I don't know if there's probably not one in Colorado.
I think all I know of them from is Texas. I'm not quite sure where else they are, but you know a Buc-ee's. Like you're driving down the freeway and you're like, I got to pull over. There's Buc-ee's. So it's a sight to see for sure. So my dad brought that over and gave it to me this morning. So yeah, and I'd love to hear where everybody's tuning in from as well. So if you could comment, let us know what city, state are you tuning in from, or if you're outside of the U.S., what country are you tuning in from this morning? We have some really fun stuff we're going to do on the show today. We're going to welcome Sheri Horn Hasan, who's an astrologer. And as we've been teasing this morning, we are going to be looking at the Natalie Wood case. And so Lisa and I have been tuning into that energy. And looks like it's going to be a feature that we're going to be doing on our Thursday morning shows. And then we'll be announcing another special mediumship broadcast that we'll be doing later this month. So if you like true crime, if you want us to look at any particular mysterious deaths or missing persons, we'd love to hear from you on that. So keep that in the back of your mind and definitely reach out and let us know what you want us to look at or put it in the comments.
Yes, I'm so excited about it because I love forensic mediumship. I think it's very interesting, and it's even more interesting when you can get to a crime scene, which Dallisa and I are working on how to do that in the way of the world today. But the initial ones we've already chosen are awesome. And for our special feature that we're going to do each month, we're also going to read some of the audience as far as if you have unsolved crimes or things that have happened in your family that you want to know the information about or anything like that. So it's going to be really, really fun. So I'm excited about it. I think it's good because Dallisa, what have you done? Because I know you've worked with investigators and things. Do you have a fun, while we're talking about it, do you have a fun story of something that you solved or something that you were a part of?
I feel like my stories are sad.
Mm.
They're really touching, but they're incredibly emotional. I tend to work a lot with families or individuals that have a missing persons or somebody who's passed away and they don't know what happened or was a accidental, intentional. Um, some of the stuff, I mean, it's just incredible. I know that there's one that comes to mind where somebody came, this was a couple of years ago, and said, I can't find this member of my family. And actually, myself and another medium tuned in separately. We sat in the same room silently and wrote down all of our notes. And then we said, here's what I got. She said, well, here's what I got. And it was almost identical.
Wow.
And then the client sat down and we shared, what we had received. And he's like, that's what I thought happened. So it gives some closure. But it's like, I even have this woman's like voice ringing through my head right now, about her teenage son. I think he was about 13. This was a few years ago, and he had committed suicide. And she couldn't figure out why. And so it's not even sometimes about knowing the specifics around how did it happen or whose fault was it, but sometimes the family or the individual just wants to know, why did it even happen? And I know, like we take this very seriously. We're not trying to make light of, these famous cases or anything like that. It's more to look at it from a different perspective, maybe bring some closure or bring some insight. For me, at least, I feel like it's a way for us to share our abilities and our gifts in a way that people maybe can identify with. Like if you know a case like Natalie Wood, and you see how we're working and how we get the information, then it maybe opens you up to exploring your own gifts as well. But what about you? Is there anything that sticks out to you?
Yeah, I have a great story. It's like the one really great, and I'm with you. I mean, I think, when you're a medium, especially when you decide to utilize your gifts as your job, I feel like it's our responsibility to help as much as we can with missing persons, with those that have passed away. And it is serious work and it's really intense. I mean, I would say there's at least one time every day when I'm working that I'm crying. Like it's an intense um, job. And in fact, I was just telling Dallisa the other day, it's really nice to call another medium at the end of the day and be like, whoa, this day, because not a lot of people understand what kind of work this is. But my favorite story that was really great, had a great happy ending, is years ago, it's probably 2008. I was actually working on the internet. I was doing like internet chat readings or something. I mean, oh gosh, back in the day. I don't do that anymore, but I did at that time. And somebody had written me wanting to know about their nephew that was missing. And this was up in Canada. And I ended up connecting with them on the phone so that we could talk and get the photo. Because for me, it's easier if I see the photo to be able to connect with the energy. And I told him where I thought his nephew was. It was like this cave, and there was a lot of geographical information that I received about exactly where he was. And this man actually gave the information to the Mounties there in Canada, and they found him and they captured the two perpetrators who actually kidnapped him. So it was a really, I mean, I get goosebumps even as I tell the
Yeah.
story now, because it was one of those moments where it's like, wow, like I can really utilize my gifts for good. And sometimes there is a happy ending. Sometimes you can really help somebody out. I've done some other things. I found a couple murder weapons that, investigators were looking for here locally and let them know. I do some map dowsing for things like that. So that tends to help too. But yeah, so that was probably my best story because it had a happy ending. I mean, this boy was saved and he was 8 years old and it was a big deal. So that was one of those moments where it's like, okay, like this was worth looking at the information, because most of the time, as you know, Dallisa, there isn't a happy ending. And most of the time they're coming to us because they've already passed, so it's nice when somebody asks something that you can really help, something that's a win.
Absolutely. That's an incredible story. I'm so glad you shared that. Oh my gosh. I'm sure people are going to be commenting and saying, what? That's fantastic.
I know, I can
Wow.
check that off my list. I found a missing person. What's really funny actually is we had an Amber Alert 2 days ago for this 12-year-old girl here in Colorado. And my husband like immediately was like, here's her picture. Like, cause obviously he knows what I do. He's my husband, but he was like, here's her picture. And I was like, she's not lost. And like an hour later, they found her and she was fine. And I was like, she's in big trouble, that girl. But it was kind of funny because sometimes my husband shows me pictures, and this when people are missing and you're like, oh, this is bad. And it's so devastating. So every once in a while you have those uplifting moments where you're like, okay, like this is not as serious as it sounds. So anyways, we have so many comments. Look at all this, you guys. Welcome in and thank you from everywhere. We have someone from Omaha, Lakewood, Colorado, Huntington Beach, California, North Ohio, Idaho, Idaho, Echelon, California. I know Henderson. Ooh, Davenport, Iowa. Anita, I grew up in Cedar Rapids, so close to you, Texas. So good morning to everybody who's joining in the live. That's so awesome. So yeah. So where are we going from here, Dallisa? Should we show the photo of the week?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Our photos of the week every week come from Sheri Peterson of Sheri Peterson Photography. Follow her on Instagram and in the Ajatakasha app. Oh, that was not nearly long enough. Sorry, guys.
Beautiful.
Oh, it's so gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful photo. I got to make that longer reel, but anyways, so thank you, Sheri, for giving us those photos each and every week. They're so beautiful. And if you guys haven't seen her work, you can follow her at Sheri Peterson Photography on Instagram and see all of her photos there. So beautiful.
Yeah, awesome. Do you want to go into any kind of energy predictions, or do you want to go into Natalie Wood? What are you thinking?
I think we should go into Natalie Wood. Should we do it?
I don't know. I feel like everyone is going to have so many things to say about it. Do you want to go to Sheri?
Yeah, let's go to Sheri.
Okay.
And then save it and you guys capture it.
All right. Well, we'll make everybody wait. But Sheri is here, and Sheri is going to be coming on and talking about astrology and what she feels is coming up for us. So excited to have Sheri part of today's broadcast. Welcome in, Sheri.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you guys? Your stories are so fascinating. Thank you for sharing them. I've had an interest in the psychic mediumship. I'm not at all that, oriented that way, but it's interesting because I'm going to talk about Neptune Pisces energy, and so much of that has to do with psychic capability. But when I would say probably about 10 years ago, a local woman who's a medium had an event that actually was somewhere around 2005, 6, 7, somewhere in there. So even more than 10 years ago. And she was promising to read everyone in a group, right? And it was only $25. So I happened to have, not in my experience or my lineage or my family, but I had 4 friends one who lost her mother to breast cancer when she was 16, one whose brother was murdered when he was around 30 and she was a few years younger, another who had an uncle who disappeared and they wanted to know where his body actually was. And a third was, what was the third? But fourth, a mother, a friend whose mother had committed suicide when he was 19. So I bought us all tickets and we went. And I just want to say, you know, what comes out of it. I then had the medium come to my house for like a party where she did private readings for people. And what comes through is so amazing, so amazing. But bless you for the work you do, because I do understand firsthand how much healing that can bring to people. And it's amazing. And you know, I have friends now who are studying it or practicing it or whatever. So kudos to you and kudos for sharing, you know, all the stuff.
Oh.
It's just is, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll shut up about that now.
No, good. Welcome in, Sheri. It's wonderful to have you.
No, it's just, you know, what a lot of the work that I do, just so you guys in your audience know, is to connect people with their actual intuitive capabilities. And I do that by looking at their astrological birth charts. But I also have studied and look at past life karma. So I'm trained in past life karmic regression. And a lot of that is also very healing, because we see often the patterns in this lifetime. I call myself an archetypal, psychological, evolutionary astrologer. So archetype is the myths of our lives, our hero's journey, right? Psychological, we see the patterns in the natal chart, the energetic patterns, and we may be preconditioned to react certain ways to certain people, certain events, etc. And I see where we came from, how we entered into this lifetime from past life karmic portal, and where we should be moving if we want to live our lives to their highest potential, which to me always means, you know, happiness. When you boil it all down, right? Some people think their highest potential is to become a CEO of a company. Others want to be a celebrity, etc. But to me, it just means what makes you happy, you know, in this lifetime. So looking at all those things is real important. And the mediumship or intuitive capability that each person has, right? Because we're taught or we're told or forced to believe certain things when we're young. And that can talk us out of listening to our instincts or listening to what comes through to us from the divine realm, you know, however any person chooses to look at that, whether it's through God, goddess, source, creator, you know, the universe or whatever. But that there is a rhyme and a reason to the world, and we're all here for a purpose. And that helps, I think, many people, especially when they're young, to better understand themselves and understand that they're not, as Lady Gaga would say, you know, God don't make junk, you know. So you have a purpose, and you shouldn't take yourself out of the human race, you know, before your time or whatever. But anyway, let's launch into what's going on this week, because there's a couple interesting things. First, I'm an astrologer who likes to look a little bit back before I go forward. So I just want to say that we're in the waning cycle of the monthly lunar cycle. We had the February 27th Virgo full moon, which basically asked us all to release our attachment, because the Virgo moon opposed the Pisces sun. So Pisces sun, which the sun goes through Pisces for a month, you know, and the Virgo moon is transitory, right? So it's fleeting energy. So the moon the moon reflects the sun's light back to itself. So it can see its positives and its negatives. So when you have a full moon, you're always looking at the negatives of the sign of the sun so that you can release those. And then you create a space to remember that there's an alternate side, right? I see zodiacal archetypes as a continuum, right? Like it's the 180-degree light. So you have lower side vibration and high side vibration, right? There's no good, bad. I call it positive and negative. So that you want to release all the negatives about Piscean energy, which is Neptune ruled, and that's dreaming without having any basis in reality. That's being confused because Pisces, which is again Neptune ruled, and Neptune rules the 12th house in the natural chart, right? So all of us, if we have 12th house planets or not, we have a ruler of that house. And that's the house, that's the primordial pre-birth phase, right? So we're floating around in the ambiotic fluid, and we're like, we don't have any needs. All our needs and wants are taken care of because we're in utero, right? Then when we get to the ascendant, we're born. So we're born into physical incarnation. So the last February 27th Virgo full moon asked us to release attachment to staying in the womb-like environment where everything is perfect and everything is taken care of for us, and to let go of those kinds of illusions about what birth will be like, right? Because we need to physically manifest, and that means we need concrete reality. So Virgo, as we know, is detail oriented. So it reminded the sun to say, hey, let go of not your dreams and your visions, but anything that's too fantastical to actually manifest as concrete reality. So if you have a goal and no way to attain it, how's it going to happen, right? And then you set yourself up for disappointment and all that, or to play the victim. So this was a From Chaos Comes Clarity full moon. As Venus went into also Pisces on February 25th, which makes us even more dreamy, but also more able to visualize our goals, right? Because if you can see it, you have a better chance of making it happen. So it's a good time to visualize everything. So yesterday, Venus sextiled Uranus. Again, that's in the past because the aspect was exact, but that was a good opportunity for us to let go of any jealousies or possessiveness in our relationships, because Venus is always about relationships. And in Pisces, it's about, seeing our relationships through rose-colored glasses. So it's kind of like, okay, along with that full moon, when the energy is still lingering until we get into the next cycle, right, which will happen next week on March 13th. So we want to let go of our illusions about why we need to control other people or why we need to be jealous. Right. So we want to look at that as an opportunity to bring new perspectives into our lives, to see relationships where we share the same values, and to recognize that perhaps we've assumed that we have the same values with some, and that maybe that's not true. Right. So, Uranus is always the great awakener. So he tells us, because he's going through Taurus for so long, it's about changing our perspective about what we truly value. Now, also, Mars, which is the big news for this week going forward, Mars entered Gemini. So Mars is our personal will. Mars is our motivation and our ambition. And astrologically, Mars is set up to serve the sun. Okay, that's a concept that comes out of traditional astrology, but also is very well known by modern astrologers. So Mars gives us the will to act on. The sun is our ego. It's our persona. It's our personality. It's who we are at our core. And Mars serves the sun by allowing us to be motivated and ambitious enough to assert ourselves, to assert our personality. Who did we come here really to be, right? So when Mars goes into Gemini, and he's going to be there until April 23rd, we have a number of different things, right? On a mundane level, and I have a radio show that I do every week. So again, I talk about these topics in a way where I bring in current news, because I believe that the collective, the mundane, is just, as above, so below. So it's a mirror, and we can extrapolate from that down into our personal lives. Mm-hmm. So sometimes the energy will hit us more exact, depending on our independent natal charts, our unique natal charts, and other times it won't, but we can see the general energies in the collective. So what do we have yesterday, or within this past couple of days? We have states in the United States that want to open up. We have a coronavirus, which is affects the lungs. Gemini represents communication. You need to breathe to be able to speak, right? And Gemini represents duality, so it represents pairs, like hands and arms and legs and lungs, like I said. So Mars is an ego-oriented planet in the sense that, again, it supports the sun, but it can be too egoic, right? So he can move too fast. So right now what we're seeing is a lot of backlash, because a couple of governors in this country have said, forget the masks. Yeah, whatever, we're there, we got vaccines. So what, we haven't vaccinated everyone, we don't care. So anyway, I'm not trying to speak politics, but what I'm saying is that this is a time over the next 6 weeks or so for us to understand that we'll probably have the urge for more socialization. We may be tempted to throw caution to the wind. And so I would say to everyone, still use your thought processes, let go of any of these non-factual pieces of information, which is again a holdover of the lingering energy of the full moon, and to assess things on your own, but using verified information. So if you're going to rip your mask off and go running willy-nilly into the Walmart and, start buying everything up, or having parties at your house again, think twice about it, because it's the weather's getting warmer, at least here in the northern hemisphere. I'm on the East Coast, so we're going to have spring very soon, and we've had some 50-55 degree days, and that makes people impatient and impetuous. So be mindful of that, but also that we may be tempted to, like I said, go full speed ahead, but we should just make sure that we're not fantasizing, Venus and Pisces, that if we do that, everything's going to be perfect. The other thing is that Mars, again, wants us in Gemini to express our opinions. So if we express our opinions, because the way I see Mars energy in general is it's action, motivation, ambition, assertion. Then it crosses a line, right? It goes to over assertion, to aggression, to violence, and to potential, because Mars is also a sexual sign, sexual violence, right? So we want to be cautious that we don't cross that line and start telling everybody what we think very forcefully, because when we do that, people will react. Now, if you do that and people react to you, you set yourself up for arguments, right? So you want to use your words thoughtfully and carefully, because the other thing about Gemini energy, which is so interesting, is that mythologically, at least to the Greeks, Hermes, which is Gemini and Roman, is the messenger. He's about communication, but he's also the trickster god, right? He's known as the god of the crossroads, and he's good at sleight of hand. Right? Again, the hands, the duality, right? So I just wrote a blog yesterday, and it was like, think about, I come from New York. So like on the street in Manhattan, you always see these people playing the shell games, like on 42nd Street, the tourists are like, oh, wow, and they get you to pay $1 or whatever. And you decide which cup the stone is under, and they go like this real quick with their hands, so it's a sleight of hand thing, right? And if you say this one and it's wrong, you lose your $1, or whatever. So we can become better at using sleight of hand in our communication, which is not quite exactly the same as manipulation, but in other words, you use your words to convince others of your point of view. And whether that's verbally or whether that's written, or whether it's also, while Venus is still in Pisces, through the visual realm, right? This is a good opportunity for us to get our thoughts out and not antagonize others, but make them think, right? And because I call them the transiting karmic nodes, right, in the sky, the nodes of the moon, have Gemini in the north node. It's also a signature for us to remember that we may perhaps think we know everything. That's Sagittarius South Node, that's coming from past karma, right? Oh, I know everything. I learned that. I did this. I did the other thing. But it has connotations with religion too, because Jupiter's Sagittarius rules the 9th house, and that's a house of religion. But it's also higher education. So Gemini energy, which is what we're trying to move towards, this Mars going through Gemini, can help us with that, because it says to us, oh, you might know everything, but did you know that when you learned that, okay, if you're my age, if you learned that in 1969, that things have changed, or even if you learned it in 1985, that things have changed. So what you think you know might not be relevant anymore. So let in new information. So if you come to the Mars and Gemini that way. Now, the only other thing I'll say about Mars and Gemini is it can be a little ADD-ish too, right? Gemini is a mutable energy. So it's a little bit scattered. Like I have a Gemini midheaven, and I love to multitask, right? So if you're going to multitask, you should be organized, right? It's like, otherwise, the classic ADD, which if anybody here is a mother, right? It's like when your baby's an infant or a toddler, and you're coming down the stairs with the laundry basket, and then you see that the lamp needs fixing, so you put the basket down and go to fix the lamp. Then you see that there's something wrong with the outlet. Then you go to fix the outlet, which reminds you that this is no, you just keep going until you finally completely forget about your original chore, which was just getting some, excuse me, but some damn laundry in the washing machine, and at the end of the day, you're like, what did I do today? So it tells us to continue to, to actually think about what you want to focus on without getting too drawn away into that Gemini's Chicken Little, right? Look over there. No, over there. What's that? They made a T-shirt years ago. What is it? The dog, where he's like, he's saying something, and he's like, oh, look, a bird, or oh, look, a squirrel. We all have that sometimes, but it's just a time to be pay attention to that. So focus is important, but this is also a really good time, especially if there is anyone on here listening who's a coach or a marketer of any kind, to make plans for the future. Okay. Because again, Mars gives you the impetus, the will to set it down in writing, so that it's in organized fashion. Now, Mercury today is meeting Jupiter. Okay, in Aquarius. Now, the interesting thing about that, and if I'm going on too long, just throw me off, because I got no problem with that. But I'm
probably got a couple more minutes. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not paying attention to the time. I'm just chatting. This is my passion. I love astrology. So Mercury meets Jupiter in Aquarius today, but this is the third time this year. So the first time the two of them met, Mercury, communication, right? Jupiter is usually, at least in mundane astrology, which is what's going on in the collective, is the ruler. So in modern day parlance, it's the president or the head of state. And in old fashioned parlance, although it exists in many places in the world, it's the king or the queen, right? So it's a personage of importance. So when Mercury and Jupiter also, because it rules the ninth house, has to do with law. Right. And Aquarius has to do with the legislative body, and Mercury is announcements and communication, etc. So on January 11th, the first time they met, Mercury was direct. They were all still in Aquarius. And we got the announcement from the House of Representatives that they were going to hold an impeachment trial. Okay. Now, on February 14th, which was Valentine's Day, we had the second hit, but Mercury was retrograde. That's the day that former President Donald Trump was acquitted by the Senate. Okay. So again, this isn't necessarily relevant to everybody's personal life, but you extrapolate down, if you look back to see what was going on in your life around those dates. I mean, Valentine's Day is a big one. So, was your heart, happy or sad, or whatever. So, there was a good news for some and bad news for other on that day within the collective in general, right? And then today, what's interesting is that I don't think anything's come of it. I haven't seen the news since this morning, and it's noon here, or 12:30 p.m. There's a conspiracy theory that Biden's going to step down today and Trump is going to be anointed the president again, or the king. Now, that's not nothing, but they were expecting, the FBI has been expecting violence or potential violence like what happened on January 6th. It doesn't appear to be happening right now as we speak. I don't know, but keep your eye on the news if you're a news hound like me. So, but on the other hand, like I said, this is a very good time to look at your future plans, expand, because Jupiter's an expansive energy and it's the great benefic. It brings blessings to us. So it allows us to have a general overview of what it is we want to focus on and ultimately communicate. So it's good for business. It's good for marketers. It's good for writers. Again, keeping in mind that Mars is in Gemini for a longer term than this transit's effects will last, that you may put into plans, your social media marketing, you're still thinking about this now. Some people may be ready to implement, but it's a good time to actually look at the whole picture of what you want for the future in terms of expressing your views, telling people what you have to tell them, to teach them, right? Gemini is third house energy, which is elementary learning. It's the building blocks of learning. And you get to Jupiter, which is the higher learning and wisdom, and the area where we're opened up to a higher consciousness, right? We get it. You know, I always say Gemini energy is the puzzle pieces and Jupiter is the actual puzzle, so you can see the whole picture, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I'll just say is things are pretty quiet for the rest of the week. And on, hang on a second, where am I? It is March 10th, I think, that the sun will conjoin Neptune in Pisces. All right. So again, and I'm watching things like, again, I'm very ninth house sun. I'm a ninth house Taurus sun. I like politics. And I find, again, that it's relevant in terms of looking at the symbology of what's going on out in the world. So we have a relief bill that our current president is trying to pass through the Congress, and that will bring relief to millions. Okay. So again, regardless of what side of the argument you fall on, the sun meeting Neptune in Pisces, and that's on March 10th, but we're heading into the lunar cycle will still be waning, right? So we'll be in the dark of the moon then, right? This is the period of the month where the earth lies fallow. If we equate lunar cycles to an agricultural cycle, right? Because we know we plant a seed at the new moon and we reap the harvest at the full moon. So we're still letting go from the full moon, allowing the land to lie fallow so that it's fertile, so that when we plant that seed on March 13th, we have the beginning of the Sun-Neptune conjunction in Pisces telling us that we want to start thinking about how we can fulfill our own needs by strengthening our connection to the divine realm, which to me is the intuitive realm. I do a lot of work with people who have aptitudes in terms of psychic energy, but a lot of them don't really, they're not comfortable a lot of times with the word psychic, you know, because I guess especially older people, you know, I'm an older generation. So I call it intuition, right? But a lot of people's issues revolve personally around trusting their instincts. So this is a time for everyone as the sun conjoins with Neptune on March 10th and between now and then, and as Venus, because at the new moon on the 13th, Venus, Neptune, the moon, and the sun are all going to be in Pisces. Okay, so when we plant a new seed, it should be about strengthening our ability to understand our intuitive and psychic capabilities and to trust them and not to doubt them. Okay, now that's, I mean, that sounds like a small thing. It's huge.
Yeah, no, it really is.
You know, like I've had clients where, you know, we laugh because I had this happen too. I'm divorced, right? It's like I was walking down the aisle and the little voice in my head said, don't do it. You know, but it was too late. Everything was paid for. Everybody's families were there. I couldn't stop it, right? So, which isn't to say that certain unions or relationships or jobs or things like that aren't also meant to be in the sense that they give us. I mean, I as a divorced person, I know a million people who may not even get along with their ex-spouse, but they love their children dearly and understand they wouldn't have those specific children if they hadn't had that union with that one particular person.
Right.
So, you know, so there's a silver lining or more than that in everything. So we're really going to be asked to try not to play the victim or the martyr card. Right. And I always say there are two sides of the same coin. So what happens is those of us who like to help people and be charitable, we have to do it with no thought of any return, because that's when our ego gets in the way. If you lend someone money, don't lend it, just give it. Right? Because how many of us know people who still are telling stories from 20 years ago about how their best friend stiffed them and never gave them back the $2,500 that they lent them thinking they were going to go to, you know, medical school or something, and they never went.
Right.
They skipped town, and now they live in Bolivia and they're never going to see that money again. What's the point? Right? So this is about having an open heart, about listening to your own instincts, to your own intuition, and to understand that the desire to help others is really, in a sense, and I'm going to say it this way, but I don't mean it, as a victimizing thing. It's like that we're the ones who actually need the help. We're the ones who need support. So our attempts to help others can make us into a martyr. And then, a true martyr doesn't ask for anything in return. A true martyr is modeled on the concept of Jesus Christ, who, gave up his life for the sins of man, to alleviate the sins of mankind, right? So theoretically, philosophically, we don't need to play that card. We say, okay, I can help you. I do it out of my soul's need to be of importance. And here's $50, here's $100 or whatever. You're in need. And the person says, I'll pay you back Tuesday. I'll pay you back Tuesday. And you say, you pay me back if you're called to do that, if you're in a position to do that. It doesn't matter when, could be 10 years from now, or I'm telling you, you don't need to pay me back at all.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off. We're going to have to wrap this up.
No, I know. I just want to say one other thing, because when we play the martyr, the other side of the coin is we get stiffed by the person we lent to, whatever it is, whatever we lend, whatever we do for them. And then we feel victimized.
Yeah.
So we go around saying, woe is me. So we want to cut through all that BS. And we just want to go straight to the divine realm and say, what am I here to do? What's my calling? What intuition should I follow? And then learn how to trust.
Absolutely. And I see in the comments here, people are loving the insight that you're giving, and they're understanding it. So I'm sure they appreciate that you said it so in a way that people could understand. Before we let you go, can you let people know how to find you?
Oh, absolutely. I am at karmicevolution.com. I have a weekly radio show which airs live. It's an internet radio show on Contact Talk Network Radio, and that you can access live or access the recordings at karmicevolution.com. If you click on the upper right-hand banner, it says radio show. So it explains what the show is about, has archived recordings. I also have a weekly newsletter, so you can sign up for that. And that's called Conversations About Consciousness. I focus mostly on the lunations, but I do a shorter weekly thing in between lunations. And I am available for readings. I specialize in natal readings, my Karmic Evolution Natal Insight reading. So you can always email me at Sheri, SHERI, at karmic with a K, KARMIC, evolution.com. So Thank you so much for the opportunity to be on. This was great.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it.
No, you're more than welcome. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Sheri.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Take care. Good luck with the show, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That intro is amazing.
I love it so much. Are you guys ready? Is everybody ready?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm sitting there listening to Sheri and I'm like, oh my God, it's such great information. I'm hearing like, watch what you say, because there's a lot of that Mars explosive energy. So I love the analogies and the stories. But I know that a lot of you are also waiting for the Natalie Wood segment. So yeah,
here we are. We've made it.
Here we are.
Part of the show. And yeah, Sheri was awesome. I really loved all of her information, and it's amazing how much astrology is in just 1 week. I mean, there's so much going on, but I was really excited. We have some new initiatives for that both of us are working on. And so it sounds like the energy is right for, really putting things down on paper for the rest of the year. So for everybody out there who's getting their practice in order or going to be part of some of our upcoming collaborations, it sounds like this is the time to do it. So I'm excited about that. But yes, let's bring her up on the screen. Let's bring up Natalie up here on the screen. And I'll tell you what, I was telling Dallisa off air, but for everybody out here, I was obsessed with West Side Story. Oh my God. I was so sad that was never a production in my school experience, because I was in musical theater and wanted so badly to be Maria. And I just loved her so much. And so here she is. And this is an article about her. and her death and all of the things around that. So where should we start with all this, Dallisa?
Yeah, I would love anybody that's in the comments. So whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay, can you drop us a comment and let us know, do you know the case? Do you know about, what people maybe think happened? I'm just curious about like a pulse check of how many people are aware of this case. So she passed away mysteriously in November of 1981. And what Lisa and I have both done independently is looked at the energy, and I will share with you what I channeled last night. And I basically, as a medium, called in the energy of Natalie Wood and said, what do you want us to know? What do you want us to share? And I'm going to tell you what came forward. I think it's important to note that we're not here as judge and jury. We're not here to make any kind of accusations or anything like that. As far as I know, nobody's ever been, formally charged or anything like that in her death. So I will share this, and then we'll see what people have to say in the comments. And then Lisa, I'm sure, will want to share her thoughts as well. So the first thing that came forward, I did this last night, and this is the page that I wrote. She was very, very sweet, a very sweet energy. I've actually never seen, including West Side Story, I've never seen any movies that she's been in. And I think it probably worked to my advantage because I don't know a lot about her. And she came forward very sweet. And she said, no, 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 he'll get angry. Because I asked, what do we need to know? No, 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 he'll get angry. She kept fidgeting with a pendant around her neck that I felt had some significance. It was either a necklace she always wore or a pendant that had great importance to her. And it'd be fascinating if anybody ever comes across this video that knows her, knows the family, may be able to validate some of this. She went on to say, I made him mad. It wasn't intentional. He didn't want to look at me. He wouldn't hear me. I disgusted him. There were substances involved. There's a woozy feeling. We were not sober. The other guy tried to calm him down and was a confidant, saying, you can trust me. He was told it was an accident and that it was all around the energy of rage. He didn't mean to kill me, but his hot head got the best of him. There was a cover-up. He's a good actor. I went peacefully, actually leaving my body. No hard feelings. I chose the wrong person. I own my part in all of this. He's the one that has to live with it. Volatility that night. We fought a lot those days, though. It was normal for us to fight in a lot of ways. He's the one I couldn't live with and I couldn't live without. He wasn't a bad man. I take some of the blame. I was a people pleaser. And I'd love to go over to Lisa and I'll kind of look at the comments as well. What did you pick up?
Yeah, so I was carried when I connected with the energy early this morning, I was carried into the scene itself. And so what I saw was and felt was her sitting, and it, for me, I don't know if I'm guessing this may be true for you too, Dallisa, but I kind of go into their space. So it's almost like I'm them when I'm experiencing their death or their passing. And so I was her, but she was sitting on the edge of the boat. Like I felt like she was sitting, and I felt like there had already been a whole night. Like there'd been dinner and drinking and, conversation and maybe some fighting. There was already stuff that had happened in the night. And it felt like it was later at night, or even like wee hour, like midnight, 1 a.m. I don't know, it was wee hours. And she was sitting on the edge of the boat, and I could look around, and it was very quiet. And I feel like it was foggy. There was something going on with like the weather or something at that time. And then what I saw was that this man came out And there were other men there, but this man came out and there was some kind of fight. And I also got that it was an accident. I saw like a pushing or some kind of pushback and falling into the water. And it was like she couldn't be retrieved. And I'm not sure if it was because everyone was under the influence or because of the weather or a combination of that. I also see like waves of water, like it was almost like she got swept away or something. It was like and so there was no way to retrieve. So I also got that what I got was that it was an accident, but it did come through this argument and this rage, and she was pushed. I mean, there was something that occurred there. And then she wasn't able to be retrieved. And I got like she was like in a coat or something, like it was cold. She was out late at night when this all went down. So that's what I felt also. And I felt like because the water was cold, it feels like she left really quickly also. So what you are sharing really validates what I was seeing in the scene itself and what I was feeling. So I do feel that there was only one person that pushed her, but there were definitely people who knew what was going on, because I think there was a ruckus trying to retreat, like find her after this happened. So that was what I felt as well.
Yeah, it looks like we've got a few comments on here. Some people have no idea about this case, which is interesting. I kind of had wondered because it happened so long ago, but she was a famous actress. She was married to, I think she was married to him, Robert Wagner.
Mhm.
Christopher Walken was on the boat. Christopher Walken was, I believe, a co-star of hers at the time.
Mhm.
They were making a movie together, and he came along on this boat ride, and then there's all these things that happened where they're like, God, did she drown? Did she fall overboard? So some people have kind of speculated what was involved. Was there foul play? I think Robert Wagner is about 88 years old or so, maybe approaching 90.
Mhm.
Assuming he's still alive. I haven't really kept up to date with him or his work. But yeah, I do. I felt like that anger, that rage was definitely a part of this. But she came forward very just kind of sweet and peaceful, and didn't really want us to like point fingers at anybody. She was very clear with me of like, I take responsibility for my role in this, which I thought was really interesting. I don't think I've quite seen it to that level when I've looked at mediumship before, when I'm talking or communicating with the person who died. And maybe that's indicative to her personality. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about her, but I think now that you've heard what we've said, I think people will be now going online, like doing research and reading about her and what the theories are. But yeah, do we want to tell people what the next week's case is going to be?
Yeah, we should. And I see lots and lots of comments. And I don't think she was found in a boat. I actually think they found her floating in the ocean. So that's something that I think is in the news articles, but I'm not so sure either. And yeah, she was Maria in West Side Story, one of the most epic, awesome musical films that were done in the beginning of the times that they were doing films like that. And yeah, I agree with you, Dallisa. Just a sweet, kind woman. Cauldron's being so naughty today. So I don't know if you noticed, but when Sheri was speaking, I was like totally like getting attacked by her. So she's definitely wanting her own stuff. But yeah, let's share what next week is all about.
Okay, so as we mentioned earlier, and then I want to talk about a prediction that came through, and we have a couple more little things we want to add on before we wrap the show, so don't go anywhere.
Yes.
We are going to do a mediumship specific live streaming event later this month. We'll be coming out with more information on that. And like we mentioned earlier, we want to know what other cases you're interested in. We have a list from everybody that's been submitting cases to us. We have a record of those. You can either email Lisa or you can email myself and or go on one of our websites and contact us that way. But we're collecting the different cases, but we're really probably going to give a priority to people that are going to be tuning into live, that live broadcast as well. But next week, because of popular demand, we're going to do JonBenet Ramsey. Yeah. It's
I'm gonna
it's
try to go to her house, you guys. I'm gonna try. We'll see. I'm close to Boulder, probably an hour, 45 minutes to an hour from Boulder. And I lived in Colorado when this happened. So it's a really eerie, it was a really eerie thing. Like, do you get this thing, Dallisa, like when we watch the news, which I don't do very often these days, but when you watch the news as a medium and they start to talk about things like that, the energy is just always intense for me. Is it for you as well?
Yeah, it's hard for me to watch or kind of participate in conversations around, you know, heaviness with death or unsolved crimes and stuff because we feel it so deeply.
Mhm.
The price of being sensitive is being sensitive, and so we have to really be mindful of engaging in that kind of content. But I know Lisa has looked at JonBenet Ramsey before. I too have. I've made a video about JonBenet and the case, and so we're both going to just kind of go into this with a fresh look at it to see if there's anything else that comes forward with it. And of course, we'll share what we've picked up as we've looked at this case previously. I think it's one we're all pretty familiar with. She is the little girl in Colorado that was a beauty pageant contestant on the regular, and she mysteriously was found dead in her home. And there's a whole lot of stuff around that, and we'll take a look at that. So it'll be next Thursday's episode. So it'll be the 9 a.m. Pacific, 10 Mountain, noon Eastern for this morning. That we'll do a segment just like we did today with Natalie Wood, and we'll take a look at JonBenet Ramsey next week, and then the mediumship live event, which when you see that come out, make sure you put it on your calendar because we'll be looking at some other cases during that live mediumship focused event. And then, of course, we'll be weighing in on different things that are coming up in the chat box and the viewers that are watching. So, yeah.
Mhm. I love it. And yeah, just share with us if you guys have any unsolved crimes that you're interested in us looking at. And if you have any personal ones, I encourage you to show up for the live event because we're going to be looking at some of those for the live audience at that time. So that's going to be really great.
Absolutely. Natalie Holloway was mentioned as one that we should add to our list for Aruba. I have seen the lighthouse in Aruba. Yeah, I think that would be an interesting one to look at as well.
Yeah, I have some interesting. There is a gosh, I hate the term conspiracy theory. I just hate it. But there is a conspiracy theory. There is information out there that she is possibly the one that Trump was acknowledging on some tweets that he made about having someone who is part of the child trafficking crackdowns, that she may be somebody that's still alive. So that'll be an interesting one to look at. But yeah, there's information, there's some tweets. I'll have to pull that up through all my sources because I don't have it in front of me, but it did come through in December. That some of the tweets about somebody that they do have in protective, under protection could be her. So wouldn't that be?
Oh, interesting. Wouldn't that be a plot twist? Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that did happen this morning that I want to make mention of. So in my 2021 prediction video, I talk about an earthquake, and I was getting a lot of tsunami energy in south of Asia. And the other day I was getting a big hit on earthquakes, and I was having a conversation with my dad, and I said, listen, I think there's going to be a big earthquake, and I'm seeing New Zealand. And this was, I think, 3 days ago. And so this morning, I'm watching business news, and the headline comes in that, in fact, right off of the coast of New Zealand, they had an earthquake, and there were tsunami warnings that have gone off there. As far as I know, there hasn't been a tsunami that has hit there. When I looked at it on the news, it did appear that they were anticipating some flooding. But I mean, we never want to celebrate that we got a prediction right, especially when it's something like this. But again, it's just giving you an example of how we receive information. And there are a lot of people out there watching that get their own premonitions. And just like Sheri was talking about, it's going to be a really important time right now to listen to your intuition. And instead of being drug into any narratives, it's about staying neutral and understanding what feels right, what feels like the truth. And so again, it's just an example of trust your intuition. And if you feel like something is coming or happening, you've really got to get some quiet time and ask yourself what the truth of the matter is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Oh, should we really quick share our community updates? Anything you and I have
Yeah,
going on? We'll kind of do that real quick.
absolutely. We put out a new podcast episode today. It's Kate Wind, who we've had on the show before. It's the March astrological forecast. So it's Highway to Healing on the major podcast platforms, or the video has been released on Spirit and Spark TV on YouTube. Let's see here. Denise is doing a class on February. Oh my God, March 12th at 6:30 Pacific time. It's like a peer-to-peer thing she's doing online for people just to exchange ideas and talk about healing. It's the 12th at 6:30 p.m. If you want to go, I'll give you a free class pass. Just go to spiritandspark.com. Click on the contact us page, and in the body of the form, just say, I want to go to Denise's class, or I want to go to the class on March 12th, and I'll make sure I connect you with her. She's got 15 spots open, and I'd love to give whoever is watching that opportunity to go. And I think that's about it for me. Like you said, we're working on all kinds of stuff. So we've got things in motion. But yeah, what's going on in your world?
Yeah, I think I'm really excited. We have a brand new refresh on my website. So if you guys have not been to lisamgunshore.com recently, it is all new and all fabulous. But one of the things I want to share is we have a new events page where you're going to be able to see all of my events month to month. They're scheduled for the entire year on there. And we now have implemented a new thing so you can actually drop in. So even if you're not a member, I know some of you guys don't want to do those subscriptions, and that's totally fine. You now have a $20 drop in. So you can drop into Seeker Circle where I do live readings. I'm also going to be launching yoga live stream at the end of this month. And we have just all sorts of great stuff. So if you're wondering what I have going on, I recommend going to lisamgunshore.com, clicking on the events page, seeing what's up. And we have unlimited event access for $29.99 a month. I'm doing my darndest to be as accessible as possible to all of you guys. I know that a lot of us are in flux with budgets and things like that because of the COVID pandemic. So just something to keep in mind. You can drop in for $20. You can also gain unlimited access for $29.99. And I have I don't even know. I have 15 events a week or something crazy. I mean, Dallisa, my schedule's crazy. So go take a look and figure it out because there's a lot of great stuff that's going on right now.
Great. And we have a question about when they can watch Awakened Grace.
So Awakened Grace. So the very first episode, you guys, is premiering on Friday, March 26th at 11 a.m. right here on the Buddhist Biohacker YouTube channel. So don't forget to click subscribe, and you can go set a reminder for that. And the cool thing about these premieres is you're actually going to be able to watch it and live chat at the same time. So where can you watch it is directly on Buddhist Biohacker YouTube channel. So it will be right on here. It's all locked and loaded and ready to go at 11 a.m. And I'll be releasing episodes as soon as week after week, but for sure a couple every single month. I have 15 interviews I've already done that I already have in the can. So it's unbelievable. Honestly, it's really unbelievable. And the end of this month is our One Heart, One Earth 1 year anniversary, which is really exciting. So this first episode is launching to kick that off on Friday at 11 a.m. March 26th.
I think we forgot to mention something really important that we have premiering.
Oh my gosh, yes. Totally
I think we forgot to tell people what's really cool coming up. We have our own premiere coming up.
We do.
Yeah, we're doing a special edition of This Morning that's actually a Sunday service. And we have Lisa and I, of course, it'll be part of the Sunday service, but we have a few other people that are in the fold that are going to be doing their own pieces of the Sunday service, and it'll be set as a premiere on Spirit and Spark TV and Buddhist Biohacker and probably a few other places. So yeah, that's coming up.
Yes, it is. It's going to release this Sunday morning. And you guys can look for their premieres in the same spots on all of our YouTube channels. So at Spirit and Spark TV and Buddhist Biohacker channel, just look for that. And we'll post it too and let you guys know when it's up. But it should be up within 24 hours, I think, on all of our YouTube channels. So it's really beautiful. And it's going to be the first Sunday of every single month. We're going to be sharing our Sunday service. And it's just really beautiful. So I think you guys are going to really love it.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I'm glad Spirit was like, remind them. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot.
Totally.
We have so much going on, but the soul to soul.
Yes, let's do soul to soul. Sorry, guys, we're running a few minutes over, but it's kind of worth it.
Okay, so your question to ponder this week, and then I want you to go over to the Ajata Kasha app, click on the group for this morning, and then post your response. The question is, if you could ask God or the universe any single question, what would it be? One question, and you'll get the answer and it'll be honest. What would be the one question that you would want to ask? So I'll post that over in the Ajata Kasha app. And thank you, Lisa, for another great show, and Sheri for joining us, and John Bonet next week.
Yeah, thank you, Dallisa. It's always a joy. I love starting the morning off with you.
Same.
And thank you to everybody who's watching. Thank you to our new members. Don't forget to click that join button on both Spirit and Spark TV and Buddhist Biohacker. You'll see a video that explains what we're offering. Both of us are offering live stream readings on YouTube for those of you who are members. So in the levels that they have. So just go and take a look. It's pretty fun, actually. So I think it's just another great way to access us, because again, we're just trying to be able to support you as best as we can in as many ways as we can. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Dallisa. Love to everybody.
Love you. All right. Bye.
Bye, guys.